Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. We are here to bring you a live update on the situation with the U.S. and Venezuela. There is some speculation that the U.S. might launch some strikes on Venezuela soon. There is even some reporting suggesting that the U.S. might do that, but we don't know. President Trump denied it today that he had decided to attack Venezuela. So we are going to bring you some live updates here and take your comments and questions on the air. You can write to me on X at Lookner on X. And I will be reading comments from the chat as well. Thank you so much to our moderators. We have Janet B. and Beth Mythical moderating right now over there on YouTube. We have Idaho Star and McBritches on Twitch moderating over there. Thank you so much. Linda Belk and Larry and Misha moderating for us on X. And all of our Facebook moderators as well. Thank you so much. K. Larry Body, thank you. Okay, so to start, I'll show you what President Trump said today when he was asked about this, which some of you, I'm sure, have seen. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. The White House posted it on their social media. Here it is right here. Oopsie. Here it is right here. I'm hearing the White House posted. I don't like hearing two of myself. Now we're hearing one of myself. On their there are reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true? No, it's not true. Here's what President Trump had to say. This was posted by the White House today. This was posted 2 hours ago by the White House.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela.
I have to fix the audio and video sync. It's a little off sync. Can I do that? Let's see here. Well, if I have to, I'll do it later. I'm not going to hold up the stream. But sorry, the audio and the video is a little synced off, but we'll play it again anyway.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela.
So he says no. He says it's not true. Says he's not considering it. That was posted just a couple hours ago. Hang on a second here. Johnny Rain TV says, he said no, boys, he never lies. Old Hickory thinks he's not considering he's already chosen to do so. Mitchell Pilot, thanks Mitchell Pilot. Mitchell Pilot said he said the same thing about the Wall Street Journal article saying we were going to strike Iran and then we struck Iran. Sub 93 says, I take it at face value. Hang on a moment here. Jackball TV says, of course he can't say. It's a military operation. They don't announce, hey guys, we're coming in. They don't do that. Dossman says he changes his mind on the fly over things. Tricatera says, come on, people, some stuff is classified. Someone says Steve knows something. Mika thinks I know something. Ernesto says Maduro out now. Let me show you, well, let's talk about some of the reporting today about this. Steph Brunk thinks it's going to happen. Let's talk about some of the reporting. The Miami Herald today, they claimed that President Trump had already approved the strikes. You can see right here, hold on a second, let me show you this. Oil moves on report denial of U.S. attack plan on Venezuela. Oil prices popped up on media reports. Prices popped up on media reports that U.S. airstrikes in Venezuela could begin within hours, only to fall after President Trump issued a denial of the report on social media. A senior analyst for Price Futures Group, Phil Flynn, noting that Trump had earlier denied reports of a planned attack on Iran before carrying out airstrikes on Iran, said, "Is this Donald Trump's trick or treat?" The United States has deployed a task force centered around the nation's largest aircraft carrier, Gerald, off the coast of Venezuela. Although I saw a report last night that the aircraft carrier group was not there yet. But they have plenty of other military assets, including a number of ships in the region already. The U.S. has deployed a task force centered around the nation's largest aircraft carrier, Gerald Ford, off the coast of Venezuela, far beyond the needs of attacking drug traffickers on small boats, which has been a focus of U.S. naval activity in the Caribbean in recent weeks, says Reuters. So, but as we just told you, President Trump says, he said a couple hours ago, the White House posted this, him saying he's not considering strikes within Venezuela. The Wall Street Journal had a report that there had been, I think the Wall Street Journal report was that there were targets chosen. I have to pull up that report and just make sure I'm getting it right. We'll talk about that shortly. My name says he is not considering because he has already decided to do so. That's what our viewer says. President Trump today denied he was considering strikes inside Venezuela, appearing to contradict his own comments from last week, and amid intensifying expectations that Washington may soon expand drug trafficking-related operations. The U.S. has built up a large military presence in the Caribbean in recent months, with fighter jets, warships, and thousands of troops. That presence will significantly expand in the coming weeks with the arrival of the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier strike group. On Friday, when asked by reporters on Air Force One if media reports that he was considering strikes within Venezuela were true, Trump said no. It was not immediately clear if Trump was ruling out future strikes inside Venezuela or simply saying no final decision had been made yet. Rizzy Scott says he denies everything. I want to mention the Iran thing. Hold on. I'll have to find the exact quote from Trump on that. We have to do a little research. Hey, quick thanks to, by the way, to Nina Drew. Thanks, Nina Drew. Also, thank you to Ethan Dart, our member. Thank you, Joe. Joe thinks it could be misdirection. Remember when he sent a bomber one direction and said the attack was already done in Iran? Could be to watch military movements. Ryan T says, so I have to remember the exact details, but when Joe's referring to is that, remember when the U.S. hit the that nuclear facility in Iran, those nuclear facilities in Iran several months ago, and publicly there were one or more bombers, I think, going west across the U.S. that people were tracking on flight radar. But in fact, what was happening, but not on flight radar were the actual bombers carrying out the strike, which people didn't know about, going in the opposite direction towards Iran. And then the White House just announced the strikes had been carried out. Thanks to Joe. Thanks, Ryan T. No, Ryan, there's no reporting that nuclear weapons will be used. I am quite confident about that. Thank you, Ryan T. Thank you, Mitchell Pilot. And Calum. And I Am Charlie. I Am Charlie says Trump needs to deny operational security. Calum said Putin said it was untrue when asked about potentially invading Ukraine. Thanks to Shark. Thanks Turned Off, our members. And thanks to, Donut Catnap for subscribing on Twitch. Thanks also Mitchell Pilot, who thinks the Iran attack was masterclass diversion. In recent weeks, Trump has publicly said his administration will carry out strikes against drug-related targets inside Venezuela. He has said this. He's been saying it for weeks. We've talked about this. He said the land is going to be next last week. He has said this numerous times, that there will be attacks on land, suggesting, well, I'd have to go back and listen to the exact quotes. I don't know if they were specifically about Venezuela or about Latin America in general, but he has said the land is going to be next. The U.S. campaign in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific has already targeted at least 14 boats that Washington said were involved in the illegal drug trade, killing 61 people. Trump has previously confirmed he has authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. While the exact timing of any land strikes is unclear, officials close to Trump had suggested it could be soon. Senator Lindsey Graham said Sunday that Trump had told him that the administration planned to brief lawmakers on military operations against Venezuela and Colombia when he returned from his trip to Asia. Trump returned on Thursday. A U.S. official speaking on the condition of anonymity said the military had provided a range of options, including strikes against military facilities inside Venezuela, such as runways. Now, there is this question of, is this all really about getting Maduro out of power? The Trump administration accuses Maduro of being the head of cartels that the Trump administration calls terrorist groups. And there is this question that is the real goal here to stop drugs or to get Maduro out of power? Venezuela is not a major producer of drugs that comes into the U.S. For example, most of the fentanyl comes in from Mexico. While Venezuela does have involvement in the drug trade, I can actually give you just some background on this real quick. So the Wall Street Journal yesterday said fentanyl is produced in Mexico with Chinese precursors. There's no evidence that Venezuela produces or traffics fentanyl. Venezuela has long been a transit route for Colombian cocaine. But again, my point is that it's unclear whether is the goal from the U.S. really to attack the drug trade or attack drug trafficking, or is that an excuse to try to get Maduro out of power? Maybe both things are true in a way. I don't know. Let me take a couple comments in a second, just to show you a couple things at the end of that Reuters article, giving a little background on this. You can see at the bottom it says, the Venezuelan opposition watchdog groups and some Latin American neighbors have long accused the Venezuelan government, especially the military, of having ties to the drug trade, particularly in the country's west along the border with Colombia. President Nicolás Maduro's government has always denied any criminal connections. Maduro has repeatedly alleged that the U.S. is hoping to drive him from power. Washington in August doubled its reward for information leading to Maduro's arrest to $50 million, accusing him of links to drug trafficking and criminal groups. All right, so let's take some comments from you guys. We might even do a poll here. Lori Murphy thinks using the drug trade excuse plays better with supporters. Ralph Fior thinks they want to free Venezuela from Maduro. Our viewer, Danix3, thinks tonight is tonight. Pretty Boy Floyd says Venezuela does have a lot of oil, though. X Kyle N says Trump is so unpredictable that he is predictable. Strikes are imminent, thinks X Kyle N. Pretty Boy Floyd says, we'll see how strong the Venezuelan regime is. Iran survived the bombings pretty well. Juliana Martin says, it's confusing times. Thank goodness it's a day to relax and take my child to go get candy. I hope everybody celebrating Halloween is having a good Halloween. Thanks. I didn't thank Paul Anderson for modding before. Thanks, Paul Anderson. Hey, a quick thank you to, that is incredibly generous of you, Lewis R. Wow. Hey, Lewis, that's so kind of you. Thanks for all your support for the channel. It's really nice of you. Lewis says, it's hard to really credit a denial that he is considering strikes, though it's definitely possible that the Miami Herald went too far. They basically said strikes were imminent. The scale of the naval assets assembled off the coast is massive. I mean, he has said that there will be strikes on land. That is true. Lewis R. mentioned the Miami Herald. I want to talk for a bit about what they were reporting. Thanks also, Sydney, for the memberships. Thanks, I Am Charlie. I Am Charlie says, now I don't remember the specifics of what he said to Iran. I Am Charlie says that Trump told Iran they had 2 weeks, hit the second night. I can't remember the specifics. Oh, another report I'm going to talk about shortly is this. Venezuela pleads with Moscow for help. We'll talk about that in a second. That's from the Washington Post. So, just so you know what the Miami Herald is reporting, just to give you a summary, you can go to the Miami Herald and read about it if you'd like. But just to give you the basics on what they are reporting, the Miami Herald is claiming, they are claiming that sources, I guess that they think are reliable, that they're claiming that the Trump administration has decided to attack military installations inside Venezuela. Okay? Now they said this was all, the planned attacks were also reported by the Wall Street Journal, but I don't think the Wall Street Journal actually said that the decision had been made yet. I'll have to look at their article again. The Miami Herald says the decision has been taken. The Miami Herald says this could happen within days or even hours. That's what the Miami Herald says. They say that the military targets that the U.S. would go after also would aim to decapitate the cartel's hierarchy. They say that the Miami Herald says the targets would be military installations used by by the drug trafficking organization they claim that Maduro is the head of. The U.S. claims that Maduro is the head of. Also, so this is the Miami Herald. They're saying this is coming soon. The decision has been taken. There's going to be military targets attacked, and also the attacks would aim to decapitate the cartel's hierarchy. That's you can read the whole article in the Miami Herald. Just go over there. So that's what they're reporting. Now, the Wall Street Journal yesterday, they reported that the U.S. was looking at hitting military targets. So look, remember, overtly, the U.S. has been talking about carrying out these boat strikes in the Caribbean against in the Eastern Pacific because they're going after the drug trafficking, they say. As I said, though, there's been this question: is this like a setup to go after Maduro in the name of, with the excuse of stopping drug trafficking? So, what the Miami Herald and the Wall Street Journal are both reporting is that the U.S. is considering striking Venezuelan military targets of the Venezuelan military in Venezuela that the U.S. says is used for drug trafficking. So if they do attack these Venezuelan military targets, then you could again ask, are they really going after the drug trade, or is it an excuse to attack Venezuelan military targets in the hope of getting Maduro out of power? I don't know. I'm just saying that's another. If that proposed action can be interpreted different ways. Does P and M think it's about oil? So the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that it's interesting. They said that some of the targets that the U.S. has identified in Venezuela include military targets used to smuggle drugs. And they said if President Trump attacks these targets, U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal, the targets would send a clear message to Maduro that it's time to step down. But the Wall Street Journal says President Trump hasn't made a final decision. But they are reporting that a potential air campaign would focus on targets that sit at the connection of drug gangs and the Maduro regime. And the Wall Street Journal reports that these targets being considered include airports and military ports and military airports, allegedly used to traffic drugs, naval facilities, airstrips. The Wall Street Journal also says that if there's airstrikes in Venezuela, that'd be a significant escalation. But these could be strikes. So again, that report is not just saying Trump is considering strikes in Venezuela. It's saying that the administration has identified targets that they would go after, including a number of Venezuelan military targets that are, again, allegedly connected to the drug trade. Hey, Kenneth Colton thinks this is happening soon. TC2290 says, what happened to no more wars? I saw that the notice to airmen thing that Native XD mentioned. I want to check that as well. I was going to talk about that. Reported airspace restriction in Puerto Rico. I need to actually check the NOTAM list because I want to see it for myself. And then we can talk about that too. That is, hold on a second here. I see people talking about that online. Hold on. Which airport is that? OSINT Technical, who I follow, posted a notice to airmen, but I would like to get the actual original website post so I can bring it up and show you. If you give me a second, I'll see if I can dig it up here for you. I just need the link, or I need the actual web location. That would be, I always prefer to get the original one. It is for, oh, hold on, I bet I can find it here. It's probably under airspace restrictions. Let's see. Where is that map? National Airspace System, NOTAMs. I can't find it right at the moment. There's a map that I normally can find that shows the airspace closures, and for some reason I can't find the map. Oh, map view. I found it. I got the map. Oh, it's not on that map. It's not on the FAA map. It's in Puerto Rico. Well, I might have to just post you a screenshot of it for now, because I don't want to take a half an hour and try to dig it up. Again, this was posted by OSINT Technical, who I follow, OSINT Technical. And they said, airspace Puerto Rico temporary flight restrictions. The FAA classifies the airspace defined in this notice to airmen as national defense airspace. Airspace SEBA, PR. From October 31st, 2025 to March 31, 2026. Only DoD participating aircraft ops under the direction of the DoD are authorized in the airspace. Now, I don't know that that means that that airspace is going to be used for an attack on Venezuela. I would like to. If somebody finds a link to that actual, I can't find, I'd love to get the original page with the notice to airmen on it. And I just can't find. This happens once in a while where I can't actually find the original. Oh, is this it? I found it. I found it myself. Hey guys, look, we have it. Here it is. Here it is. Federal Aviation Administration. Oh my gosh, he found it. So look, there's Venezuela right there. See Venezuela? And then there's Puerto Rico, which again is a U.S. territory. It's part of the U.S. It's up here. And then this is the airspace right here, that rectangle. Well, it's sort of a rectangle. And it says, beginning November 1st at midnight UTC. So this starts tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Temporary flight restrictions for special security reasons. Only Department of Defense aircraft, only Department of Defense participating aircraft operations under the direction of Department of Defense are authorized in the airspace. All aircraft entering or exiting the area must be on an blah, 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 blah. Act IFR or VFR plane with a discrete code. All aircraft entering or exiting the area must remain in two-way radio communications with ATC. So, something or nothing. It's for special security reasons, it says. Special security reasons. I don't know personally. But again, it's right off the coast of Puerto Rico. I have to make a note of the map. Where's the actual map? Oopsie. Sorry. I gotta write. I'll make a note of this link so I can find it next time. It doesn't take me so long. Something or nothing. By the way, OSINT Technical, who again I follow, at OSINT Technical, said that that airspace closure is near Jose Aponte de la Torre Airport, which is home to a significant deployment of U.S. forces. Maybe we'll do a poll. Maybe we can do a poll about this. By the way, thank you to Sevenfold, who says, how much taxpayer money will be used to deploy these resources? The war on drugs terror is a war on our rights, freedoms disguised as national security and community safety. Thank you. I am Charlie and Red Porch and Trippy. Trippy also says, how much is this costing the American taxpayer while families could go hungry this weekend? Thank you, Mitchell Pilot. Oh, Mitchell Pilot says Rubio reported about it, downplaying. I will pull that up. Thanks also, Kenneth Colton. Kenneth says Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. Thanks, Sean, for your support. And Sir Pepe, who says Russia depends on Venezuela for oil? Is that true? Doesn't Russia produce a lot of oil? Sir Pepe? Although I don't know if there's a certain type of oil Venezuela has that they use. That I don't know. I'm going to read you an article talking about Russia in a little bit. Thanks, Dean R. and Casey Veteran, for being members, OPR 357. But you can see temporary flight restrictions for special security reasons starting tonight. Basically, starting tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hold on, I'm looking up something. I'm looking up something here. Let's see. Maybe we should do I think we should do a poll. Let's do a poll. Then we'll give you some more updates and take some more of your comments. We haven't done a poll yet. Chuck Mosca says, what disaster is the Trump regime visiting upon us today? Wow. Connie Richards thinks there will be no strike. Okay, let's do a poll. We can't do it on Facebook yet because they haven't fixed their polls yet. Let's do a poll. The poll will be, when will U.S. strike Venezuela? But one of the options will be never. Tonight, this week, tonight, within a week, later, and never. I mean, by never, I mean be realistic. I don't mean in 1,000 years. I mean in the near future, in the next year or so. Next couple of years. All right, I'm posting the poll right now. We'll see what you guys say. Oops. Now what happened? Oh, hold on. I got to redo this. I got to retype in the poll because the window just closed on me. So I got to retype in this poll for you. Hang on a moment. Let's retype the poll. I apologize. It's annoying, but I need to do it. Okay. Tonight, what a pain in the butt. This week, hey, guess what? The poll is now posted on YouTube. Now I'm posting it on Twitch. Okay, done. It's posted. Now I'm going to show you what you guys are saying. Dante says, tonight, crew, unite. Diana thinks it's going to be this week. Jednet says, I say hours to days because Russia has been sending cargo planes to Venezuela in the last 48 to 72 hours. We're going to talk about Russia in a second. Okay, here is what the YouTube viewers are saying about the timing here. On YouTube, we have 32% saying the U.S. will attack Venezuela tonight. 34% says in the next week. 14% say later, and 20% say never. Only 20% say never. How about Twitch? What are they saying? %30 say tonight, 40% say within a week, 8% say later, 22% say never. So about 80% of people voting believe that it'll happen at some point. The winner between the two is within a week. Laura Hunter thinks it will totally be tonight. Again, the Miami Herald today reported that the Trump administration has decided to carry out strikes. What happened here? That's what the Miami Herald say. They're saying the decision's been taken and it could come within days or even hours. The Wall Street Journal says the Trump administration has identified military targets that they could go after with connections to drug trafficking. But they say the decision, Wall Street Journal, hasn't been taken yet. President Trump denied that he is considering doing it today. Hey, thanks for voting in our poll. Well, YouTube ended up being tied between... YouTube, it's a tie between tonight and next week. In the next week. Twitch is more favoring within a week. One moment. One moment here. Thanks for voting in the poll. Hey, thanks also to Krigstem. I think Krigstem is in Brazil, if I have that right, who says, no war, stop the madness. Thanks also to... Oh, no. Is it South Africa, maybe? I don't know. What is it? I have to look this up. Now I don't know. Krigstem, where are you? Are you in Brazil or South Africa or a different place? You don't have to say. I was trying to figure it out. I just don't want to misrepresent where they're from. I think it's South Africa, actually. Well, I don't know. You don't have to say. I'm just sorry if I got it wrong. I think it's one of the two. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks also to Trippy. Thank you, Trippy. Trippy says, why not Colombia? Oh, I see now there's no oil. Thank you so much. I am Charlie, who says, this is not war, this is surgical strikes. Thank you, Heavenly Intervention, who mentioned the Pentagon pizza report. I'll check that in a second, Heavenly Intervention. Some people are checking that today. Let's see here. Check that. I don't know that this is any kind of reliable indicator, but a lot of people like checking the Pentagon pizza report, which tracks pizza activity around the Pentagon. Pentagon Pizza said that 2 hours ago there was a surge at a Domino's, one of the closest pizzerias to the White House. Make of that what you will. They also said that various pizzerias nearby the Pentagon were reporting above average traffic a couple hours ago. That's from the Pentagon Pizza Report, at Penn Pizza Report. All right, hold on a moment here. Let's see here. One of our viewers said they're not doing anything without Trump in Washington. So Trump's schedule for the weekend, I have it here somewhere because I saw it last night. Where is it here? Okay, so the schedule is President Trump is in Florida now, and he is going to be there this weekend. He has a MAGA Inc. dinner at Mar-a-Lago tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, he's traveling back to the White House and is supposed to arrive back at the White House at 7:50 p.m. on Sunday. One of our viewers thinks that nothing would happen with him not in D.C. Bill Osterheld says he's in Florida. So let's talk more about this. I need to check for updates too. So I'm going to need a second to check for some updates here. But we're going to talk more. I want to show you this story involving Russia. I also should pull up, if I can, and I think I can, the video from the, if I have it here, the video from the longer video from the plane, from Air Force One. Do I have that? No, I don't think I can use that actually. That I don't think I have the rights to. But I have the little clip of him speaking. Hey, thanks to our moderators. We're going to talk about this next. Look at this. As U.S. ramps up the pressure, Venezuela pleads with Moscow for help. That's reporting by the Washington Post. Hey, thanks to all of our moderators. We have moderating right now. Janet B. is moderating. Thank you, Janet B. We have moderating right now. Over on Facebook, Paul Anderson and Kay Lowry Body, thank you. Shannon Davis Hughes. Thanks to Chuck Mosca for subscribing over there. Thanks Sharon Klassen Goslin and Suzanne Priest-Buchner for subscribing. And also, and Kay and Shannon. And also, thanks to our Twitch moderators like Idaho Star, LB Prairie Dawn, Bastion Girl, Mark HNC, Matthew Kohai 3, McBritches, thank you. Thanks also for subscribing. Iloso 1375 on Twitch, who says it's not about just narcotics or regime change, but also to curb China's influence in South America. That's what Iloso says. Thanks, CC, for your support. Thanks, I7 Andy, for your subscribing on Twitch. And Wall Street and Shrocky and Ma Florida 22 for subscribing, and Gina Pina, and Twitcher 2012, and others. Okay, let's talk about this report. Area K thinks it's about oil. Regular JJ thinks it's about China, mainly. Okay, this was a report from today from the Washington Post. Amid a buildup of American forces in the Caribbean, Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro is reaching out to Russia, China, and Iran to enhance its worn military capabilities and ask for assistance, requesting defensive radars, aircraft repairs. I'm speaking wrong. They say Maduro is requesting defensive radars, aircraft repairs, and potentially missiles, according to internal U.S. government documents obtained by the Washington Post. The requests to Russia were made in the form of a letter meant for Russian President Putin and was intended to be delivered during a visit to the Russian capital by a senior aide this month. Maduro, according to the documents, also composed a letter to Chinese President Xi Jinping seeking expanded military cooperation between their two countries to counter the escalation between the U.S. and Venezuela. In the letter, Maduro asked the Chinese government to expedite Chinese companies' production of radar detection systems, presumably so Venezuela could enhance its capabilities. Now, I can't confirm this. This is the Washington Post report. The documents say that Venezuelan Transport Minister Ramon Celestino Velasquez also recently coordinated a shipment of military equipment and drones from Iran while planning a visit to that country. He told an Iranian official that Venezuela was in need of passive detection equipment, GPS scramblers, and almost certainly drones with 600-mile range. In the letter, Maduro emphasized the seriousness of perceived U.S. aggression in the Caribbean, framing U.S. military action against Venezuela as action against China due to their shared ideology, the U.S. documents state. It is unclear from the documents how Russia, China, and Iran responded to Venezuela's requests, says the Washington Post. Russia remains the primary lifeline for Maduro. On Sunday, in an Ilyushin II-76 airplane, one of the Russian aircraft sanctioned in 2023 by the U.S. for participating in the arms trade and transporting mercenaries, arrived in Caracas, Venezuela's capital, after a circuitous route, indirect route over Africa to avoid Western airspace, according to Flight Radar 24. The Kremlin declined to comment on the letter. Oh, it's IL-76. I read II. That seems to make more sense. Anyways, this Russian plane the Ilyushin, it's a transport plane. Ilyushin, is it? Yeah, IL-76. You can see right here on Wikipedia. I'll show you the Wikipedia page about it. Ilyushin IL-76. Strategic airlifter. So, again, on Sunday, a Russian cargo plane that had been sanctioned in 2023 by the U.S. for participating in the arms trade and transporting mercenaries arrived in Caracas, Venezuela, after a circuitous route over Africa to avoid Western airspace. Something or nothing, guys. Something or nothing. Just a day earlier, on Saturday, Moscow ratified a new strategic treaty with Caracas. The machinations shows how much Russia stands to lose should the embattled Venezuelan leader Maduro fall. High-profile projects between Russia and Venezuela continue to roll out, including a Kalashnikov munitions factory that opened in July in the Venezuelan state of Aragua about 20 years after it was pledged. Moscow also has exploration rights for potentially billions of dollars in untapped natural gas and oil reserves. Yet, despite the optics, observers say, Russia's means and interest in supporting Maduro may be reduced compared to years past. The standoff between Washington and Venezuela could even offer the Russians some unexpected benefits as it turns American attention away from Europe. Wow. Wow. Mired in a war in Ukraine and eyeing closer cooperation with other Latin American partners, Moscow has gradually curtailed its interest in Venezuela in recent years, with little sign of a surge in support because of the current crisis. A former U.S. ambassador to Venezuela, James Story, said, "The fact that we've moved over 10% of our naval assets to the Caribbean is already a win in some regards for Putin. Our renewed interest in all things Western Hemisphere divides our attention on Ukraine, and that's a good thing for Putin." Wow. What do you guys think? Is Russia supplying, say, additional air defenses to Venezuela right now? What did the Russian cargo plane that landed on Sunday reportedly in Venezuela have on it? One of our viewers said World War III. Molly Morgan says, no way Putin will risk getting his stuff blown up right now. They won't be sending them anything, in my opinion. I mean, certainly Russia is heavily involved in the invasion of Ukraine still. Damon9, our viewer, thinks Trump is about to get into a quagmire in Venezuela. So many nations have reasons to give weapons to any nation fighting the USA. Ken Daxter says, war president on work for sure. A little more here from this Washington Post article. The political and economic ties between Russia and Venezuela date to Hugo Chavez, father of its socialist state, following his rise to power in 1999. The relationship between Russia and Venezuela flourished during the 2000s, 2010s, and early 2020s. Today, it spans the vital petrochemical sector, weapons purchases, shared propaganda operations, and opaque cryptocurrency deals. According to analysts, the U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean is presenting perhaps the greatest challenge to Chavez's successor Maduro since Maduro took over the country's leadership in 2013. More than a dozen U.S. strikes on alleged drug traffickers, largely departing from Venezuelan shores, have killed at least 61 people since September. The administration has not presented proof that the ships were involved in drug trafficking, and Maduro has denied they were. The USS Gerald Ford, the Navy's heaviest and most modern aircraft carrier, has been dispatched to the region. The official messaging, though, from Moscow on Trump's actions against Venezuela has been relatively restrained, says the Post. In early October, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov expressed serious concern over the increasing escalation of Washington's activities in the Caribbean Sea. In a call with his Venezuelan counterpart on Wednesday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow respects Venezuela's sovereignty and believes the issue should be resolved in accordance with international law, a common talking point the Kremlin often employs to sidestep sensitive geopolitical questions. But Russia is now more occupied closer to home, fighting a war and Western sanctions of its own. Defense analysts say Moscow has shifted some of its key Latin American listening posts from Venezuela to Nicaragua, where the pro-Russian authoritarian President Daniel Ortega has solidified its grip on power. This expert, Douglas Farah, says the reality is that Russia has been relatively quiet on Venezuela, and they've spent very little political capital defending Maduro. Wow. Just skipping down a little bit here, the predecessor of Maduro, Hugo Chavez, began what would become years of Russian weapons purchases, including Russian-made tanks, Sukhoi fighters, and surface-to-air missiles. Analysts and officials familiar with the Venezuelan military say much of what was purchased is non-operational or outdated. Chavez also bought Russian helicopters and stocked Russian missiles, he said, but many of them are old and represent no real threat against the U.S. military. Chavez bought or Russia sold Venezuela pure junk, said the former Venezuelan military official. Maduro, however, this month claimed Venezuela had deployed 5,000 Russian-made Igla-S portable surface-to-air missiles nationwide. And I just want to read this. This is interesting. A regime change in Venezuela would be a major blow to Moscow, potentially representing the loss of a major ally, while significantly weakening another Russian ally, Cuba. an even longer standing ally of Moscow's, whose intelligence community is closely intertwined with Maduro's Venezuela, who observers say could be next on Washington's list. What do you guys think about that? Could this be start of the Trump administration inserting American control in the Western Hemisphere? Could we see a U.S. Attempt if the U.S. acts to overthrow Maduro? Could we see some sort of action involving Cuba? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? That's an interesting idea. Would President Trump like the idea of being known as the president that got rid of socialist and communist, although is Cuba officially communist anymore, but got rid of the unfriendly regime, Russia-allied regimes in Venezuela and Cuba? Might that be something Trump and Trump's administration is thinking about? Wow. Wow. By the way, regarding Cuba and Venezuela, that's an interesting point. Brookings Institution, for example, had an article from Oh, that's too long ago. That's too far ago. I don't want to quote that one. Cuba-Venezuela relations. Wikipedia says the bilateral relation includes development aid, joint business ventures, large financial transactions, exchange of energy resources and information technology, and cooperation in the fields of intelligence service and military. I think I've read that. Where did I read this? If I can find it here. I think I've read that Cuban intelligence agents support the Maduro regime. I think maybe I even read that in The Economist recently, if I can find that for you. Where did I see that? Was it here? Let's see. Hold on. Wasn't in that. Well, hold on. I thought I read it in an Economist article. Oh, hold on. Maybe it's here. Can't find it. Can't find it. So don't quote me on that. I thought I read it in The Economist, but I can't find it. Oh, maybe I read it in Foreign Policy. Let me check that one other thing. You can wait while I look up this article. While I check to find the article. Where is it? I can't find it. I can't find it. I really feel like I read that somewhere and I can't find it right now. I'm not going to worry about it. So I can't remember where I read that. Anyways, but the whole Cuba thing is an interesting question. I got to take some of your comments. Enough of me talking, but that's an interesting article from the Washington Post, again, talking about reportedly Venezuela asking China and Russia and Iran for help, talking about how Russia and Venezuela have had very close ties in recent decades, but Russia has not been publicly coming out giving so much support to the Maduro regime in the face of the American pressure. Russia is certainly very involved militarily in the ongoing invasion and war in Ukraine, which could limit its ability to help out. So just some interesting discussion in that article. Nukester says, all this military in the Gulf isn't cheap. Would be nice to afford groceries too. Rob says, U.S. picks on countries that can't defend themselves. Tiberius says, whose hemisphere our hemisphere? Oh, one of our viewers mentioned Marco Rubio. Sorry. I think I Am Charlie did. Oh, hey guys, look what Marco Rubio said. Look what Marco Rubio said. Look at this. Some of you probably have seen this already. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, told the Miami Herald, your sources claiming to have knowledge of the situation tricked you into writing a fake story. You can see the Miami Herald said U.S. poised to strike military targets in Venezuela in escalation against Maduro. The Miami Herald said it could happen within days or even hours. The Miami Herald said that the Trump administration had now approved these strikes, but Marco Rubio and President Trump are denying it. Nate O'Dog says it's all posturing. C. Ayers says Marco shut down the rumors. Jewish Pickle says Trump never reveals until after the strike. Aiden St. Louis says, who's trust Marco Rubio? Anyone? That's it. That's an interesting post by him. Oh, you know, some of our viewers had mentioned me about this story about Trinidad and Tobago. I got to mention that as well. NWO Style mentioned it. Some people have been mentioning me about that. Oh, I should also show you something from what our viewer Firejack mentioned something else from OSINT Technical. So give me a second here. Give me a second. I have a couple things I want to mention. Give me a second here. One moment. One moment. I got to mention a couple things. NRR. All right, so there's a new notice to airmen or notice to air missions in Puerto Rico. If I can find it here. Where is this? Can I find this one? Where did this come out? I can't even find it. Hot pit refueling operations? It's new, so it would be from today. I don't see it there. I'm trying to find it. OSINT Technical said there was a new notice to air missions at the airport near the airspace closure in Puerto Rico that said hot pit fueling operations were in effect. And he said that OSINT Technical said that's the process of refueling an aircraft while its engines are still running to minimize turnaround time between flights or missions. So, but I'm looking for that and I can't find the new one. I'm literally on the page from the NOTAM search. So I don't know if that NOTAM is still active or not. I can't find it right now. I only found one new one from today for that airport. I'm not going to worry about it at this point. But the Trinidad and Tobago thing, people have messaged me about. What is that? We're now in one of these situations where when military action might happen, people start reading the tea leaves. And people start finding things they think are signs of imminent action. Yeah, Destiny says, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago near Venezuela. Our military is on alert. Here. So Faytux News, for example, mentioned this, that the Trinidad Express is reporting that the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Forces has been placed on high alert with all soldiers and Coast Guard officers ordered to report to their respective bases by this evening. Let me show you where that is. Trinidad and Tobago is just several miles from Venezuela. It's right off the coast of Venezuela. See? That's from Google Maps. But it's, again, right off the coast of Venezuela. So to repeat, the Trinidad Express reports that the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force has been placed on high alert. They are State 1 alert level, the highest level of operational readiness. All soldiers are to report to their bases by 6 p.m. This is not a drill, the memo stated. By the way, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is it it's Tobago and not Tobago, is it not? Am I wrong about this? I don't know for sure. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm saying Tobago. Our viewer Sea Turtle thinks special forces will likely get Maduro. Nick says I'm pronouncing it right. Okay, most people are saying I'm saying it right. I got that one right. That's something. Donna Simmons says maybe somebody in the military has sold out Maduro. That's what Donna Simmons said. There's reporting claiming that the U.S. has tried to. There's some reports floating around claiming the U.S. has tried to make inroads with people around Maduro. Idris Ali, who is with Reuters, he is the Reuters national security correspondent. He says the extent to which the Trump administration is going to deny that operations in Venezuela are imminent is fascinating. Literally, President Trump denied it today, and Marco Rubio denied it today. President Trump, I'll show you again here, as we showed you earlier, said this. Here's what President Trump said earlier when he was asked about it.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
Reports that you are considering strikes.
And that was posted on the White House X account. Rapid Response is a White House X account. White House Rapid Response account. And Marco Rubio posted that the Miami Herald story that the administration had decided to attack targets in Venezuela is false. Frozen Raindrop thinks that's the I can't answer that no. Kimberly Joanne says, I guess it's not true. Angie says, if he says no, it's a yes. Jeff Anderson says he was really quick with the answer. Ricklin says, anyone expect them to say yes? LMAO. Jive Turkey thinks they denied it because it's not happening. G. Jacobo says that's their game. I will, you know what's interesting? Dan Lamothe yesterday Dan Lamothe is with Washington Post. He reported that the USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group is still in the Mediterranean. Remember, I think it was last week when the U.S. ordered this carrier strike group to the Caribbean region, closer to Venezuela. But according to Dan Lamothe, that group is still in the Mediterranean. So if the U.S. is going to carry out strikes, would they wait for the carrier group to get there, or would they just do it? I don't know. If it's true that they're not there yet. By the Sea says they have plenty of assets down there to get to business there. Here's a post from Bernie Sanders today about this. Bernie Sanders says, Trump is illegally threatening war with Venezuela after killing more than 50 people in unauthorized strikes at sea. The Constitution is clear. Only Congress can declare war. Congress must defend the law and end Trump's militarism. Let me see what else is being reported here. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. The War Zone, which is a... So we're bringing you a live update here because there has been a lot of talk about whether the U.S. might be striking targets inside Venezuela soon. The Miami Herald, for whatever it's worth, they reported today that... I want to just be accurate when I say the basic idea of what they reported. The Miami Herald reported that the Trump administration has decided to strike military installations inside Venezuela, and those strikes could come at any moment. That's what the Miami Herald says. Yesterday, the Wall Street Journal said that the Trump administration has identified targets in Venezuela that include military targets that allegedly are used to smuggle drugs. And those targets, if the strikes are carried out, those targets would send a clear message to Venezuelan leader Maduro: it is time to step down. So there's, we mentioned also that there is a new notice to air missions, a new airspace closure right near Puerto Rico, off the coast of Puerto Rico, which we talked about earlier. And that airspace closure is, where is it here? I have it right here. If you give me a second, I will pull it up on the screen. Shout out to OSINT Technical for mentioning that and reporting on that. Here is the airspace closure near Puerto Rico. You can see it right here on the FAA page. There's Puerto Rico, which belongs to the U.S., which is not that, I mean, it's closer than the mainland U.S. is to Venezuela there, as you can see. There's Puerto Rico, there's Venezuela, Puerto Rico. And off the coast, you have that rectangular-ish area, and the notice to air missions says temporary flight restrictions for special security reasons starting at 8 Eastern tonight. 8 Eastern tonight. No pilots may operate an aircraft in the areas covered by this order, except as described. Only Department of Defense participating aircraft operations under the direction of Department of Defense are authorized in the airspace. So, something or nothing. We'll have to see what happens. So a lot of speculation that something might be happening soon. Hey, thanks, Carlos, for your support. Carlos thinks this is just saber rattling and strikes will be next week. Thanks, Nationalist Libertarian, for your support. Thank you, Napoleon Solo. Thank you, Mitchell Pilot. Now, Mitchell Pilot said that I didn't see. Mitchell Pilot claimed that the Trinidad Express said the Trinidadian Prime Minister said she was unaware of such news. I don't know. I didn't see that in the article, but maybe they did say that. But again, the Trinidad Daily Express said that Trinidad and Tobago, which is just miles off the coast of Venezuela, that their defense force has been placed on high alert, their highest level of operational readiness, and that soldiers were told to report to their bases by 6 p.m. Oh, yeah. There's another article in Trinidad Express that says Prime Minister denies knowledge of Defense Force alert or potential strikes. Says citizens should remain calm. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago said she's not aware of the reason. She didn't say she's not aware of them being on high alert. She said that she's not aware of the reason why the Defense Force has been placed on high alert. That's kind of odd, right? She said shortly after the news came out that the Trinidad Defense Forces had been placed on the highest alert, the Prime Minister told the media she had no information. She said, I don't know, I have no information or knowledge about that. I'll find out. I don't know that she really has no information, but she didn't deny it happened. She said she had no information. Also, reportedly, the memo that went out to the military said this is not a drill in Trinidad and Tobago. The Minister of Homeland Security in Trinidad and Tobago said that this was a normal exercise. What can I say, guys? Thanks, R. Ross, who thinks it's a negotiation high stakes. You think it's just a threat to try to get him to... I mean, there's been speculation that the U.S. is really hoping that Maduro would just leave, and they're threatening more and more and more to try to get him to just leave. Lindsay says he is yanking our chain, fools. Our viewer, Nicholas Brown, thinks it's all kicking off today. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? I will certainly be keeping an eye on this. Hold on a second here. Let me check some other reporting. Gary Baines, I do not have a Venezuela camera for you right now. The Economist had an article about this recently, which I wanted to mention. They had a couple articles about it. They said that the aims of the U.S. massive buildup off of Venezuela of the military is unclear. The buildup of ships in the region is the largest since the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, says The Economist. Also, the U.S. has been flying a number of planes near Venezuela's coast. The Economist says that that could be an effort to rattle Maduro or map out his air defenses or both. The Economist points out that on October 26th, an American destroyer docked in Trinidad and Tobago, which is just off the coast. It's about 5 miles from Venezuela. The U.S. called that a training exercise involving the Marines. The Economist said that could serve as a cover for moving naval assets closer to the shore. So if the U.S. was going to carry out strikes or military action in Venezuela, could that involve Trinidad and Tobago at all, given that it's just about 5 miles off the shore of Venezuela? The Economist says it's unclear why all this military activity is happening. They say it's possible that that Trump seeks to capture or kill Maduro, maybe with a special forces operation. There may be trying to put pressure on Maduro until somebody in his inner circle betrays him. What will happen? I've also read a bunch of analysis that says people around Maduro might think that they have a lot to lose if Maduro, there's a lot of people who are very closely tied to Maduro who might think they have a lot to lose if Maduro is no longer in power. So they wouldn't necessarily want to turn against him. Fred Sloan says Venezuela is going to lose. Another question is, if this is going to happen, I remember with Iran, remember what happened with Iran, if I remember this right. So when the U.S. launched those strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran, it was talked about that might happen for a while. But when it actually happened, in a way it kind of came out of nowhere. There had been some planes people were observing on flight radar, I think the day before. But those ended up not being the bombers that actually went to the target. But I remember we were on the air and all of a sudden President Trump just announced that it had happened. So could we see something like this where just all of a sudden President Trump posts, hey, we carried out strikes in Venezuela? And then Jazz FT said Trump said 2 weeks. I remember that as well. I don't remember the exact thing he said and when. Did he say like we're going to decide in 2 weeks? I don't remember the exact timing, so I don't want to misrepresent it. So the attack on Iran, what day was that attack? The attack, all right, so here it is, ready? The attack was on June 22nd, okay? I am looking at a story from June 19th, from AP, where they said President Trump said Thursday he will decide within 2 weeks whether the U.S. military will get directly involved. So if I have this right, Trump said it was going to be 2 weeks in which he would decide within 2 weeks, and then roughly 3 days later, the U.S. struck Iran. I believe that was the timing. So, he said today that he's not considering strikes. But is that true? Tina Marie says the Iran attack was 5 months ago. Dang, time is flying. LVBZ says launching cruise missiles from a ship isn't war. Alan Artsakian says, I believe the U.S. is trying to get the Venezuelan army to abandon supporting Maduro. Non says, you're a fool if you don't know this is about oil again. Danik says the tweet from Marco Rubio was pretty clear. Well, the question is, do people believe it? Marco Rubio said that the Miami Herald wrote a fake story today, claiming that the U.S. is poised to strike military targets in Venezuela. Ronald Jong thinks there's nothing to do with oil here. Maybe we'll do one more poll. Giuseppe Bazile says, will missile strikes come from the mainland? Well, the U.S. has so many resources in the region. I would assume if they launched missiles, they would do it from their boats. I don't know for sure. Razorback Kid thinks he isn't considering it. It is already decided. All right, we'll do one more poll question. Has Trump decided he will launch strikes on Venezuela? Has Trump decided to launch strikes on Venezuela? Yes or no? That's the question. I'm going to ask you guys, and you can say. We'll do one more poll. Our viewer exclamation points said, if you believe this is solely about oil, you are the biggest fool of them all, falling for low-hanging talking points as if having our adversaries this close is somehow okay. Peace through strength. Okay, I said to you, the poll question is, has Trump decided to launch strikes on Venezuela, meaning on Venezuelan soil? On YouTube, the vote right now is 77% yes, 23% no. And on Twitch, the vote is... What is it on Twitch? On Twitch, it's 72% yes, 29% no. So pretty close. Most of you think he has decided to launch strikes on Venezuela. Fred Witherow says, peace through summary executions. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Today, this stream is a little shorter than it would normally be because once in a while, there's something that I have, there's matters I have to deal with that I have made plans to deal with, and I have such a matter shortly. But I will be around tonight. And if something happens with this or there's other big news, I will certainly jump on the air. But right at this moment, I need to end this stream a little early so I can deal with that. And but I will be keeping an eye on everything. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I would not be surprised to see something happen soon or not. I just don't know. I have no idea. So we'll have to see. But I appreciate you guys being here for the stream. I will certainly keep an eye out tonight for what is going on and this weekend. If there's big news about this or something else, I will come back on the air. I will post updates on my X account. My X account is at Lookner, which is at Lookner, which you can see right here. So you can follow me over there for breaking news updates. And subscribe and follow the channel Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. Subscribe and follow Agenda Free TV. And what else do I want to mention? Oh, turn on the notifications so you don't miss a stream. I can't tell you when we're coming on the air all the time because who knows when big news happens. We have our own notification system. It works awesome. It's free. You sign up, you get sent a notification whenever we go live. We do it through Discord. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat. And you can find the notifications link on YouTube and Facebook in the description of this broadcast. So sign up for the notifications. But I really do appreciate you guys being here. And also, thanks for sending me updates, for posting all of your comments and questions and letting me read them all in the air. I'm sorry I can't read every comment, but I appreciate people writing in. It's going to annoy me. I know I miss comments. Ruru said, has anyone noticed if Chinese or Russian Navy ships are moving toward the area? I have not heard any reports of it, but I have not, been checking very hard for those reports. I have not heard any reports like that. By the way, our viewer Karen Moore says, when Trump pulls out his greatest hits at his big speeches, he talks about how the American military is superior and how they bombed Iran and other targets. It never occurs to him there's a chance his actions could lead to a big military conflict. He never thinks of putting the military in danger. That's what our viewer Karen Moore thinks. That's what Karen Moore said. We'll have to see what happens. But thank you for writing in. Let's see here. Okay, but I really appreciate people posting their chats, people with a lot of different views on this, and sending me messages and letting me read them. Okay, hang on a moment here. Okay, so what else do I want to mention? Oh, thanks so much to our moderators for being here. Our moderators are awesome. They're the best. They're the reason we can even have chat rooms. Beth Mythical moderating today on YouTube. Thank you. And all of our other YouTube moderators, thank you so much. Janet B as well. Thanks, Janet. Also over there on Twitch, our moderators over on Twitch, like Bastion Girl, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Matthew Kohai 3. Thank you, and all of our Twitch moderators. Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Paul Anderson, Shannon Davis Hughes on Facebook. Thank you. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. Thanks so much. Thanks to everybody who donated. That's super nice of you guys. Did I get everybody? Yes. Diane Inkhutton. Who says NOTAM up east of Puerto Rico for ordnance disposal drops. That's for dropping malfunctioning or unsafe weapons before returning to the airfield. I didn't see that one, Diane, but I have to get off the air right now. I'll be looking after. We talked about a NOTAM, a bunch, one of the NOTAMs. I think we mentioned another one too, but we talked about one a bunch, a closure of airspace for security reasons. Restricting the Department of Defense aircraft off the coast of Puerto Rico. I didn't see that one, but I'll have to look into it. Thank you so much, Diane Inikaton. And I am Charlie. Thank you, Resistor. Thanks for being a member. R. Ross, thanks for your support. Truth and Honor, thank you. And everybody else who donated. That's really nice of you. Louis R., big thanks again to Louis R. It's really kind of you. If you want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thank you for supporting the channel. That's what allows the channel to exist, is your support. Thank you so much. And also, another way to find out when we're going live is follow us on X at Agenda Free TV. I always post there before we're going live. I post updates about the channel at Agenda Free TV on X. We do have a Discord chat where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. It's free. Check out our Discord chat. It's the same link as the notifications link, as the free notifications link. Check out the Discord chat. Shout out to our Discord mods, by the way. Thanks for all you do to help the channel, Discord mods. And hey, if you're watching on YouTube, I would turn on the YouTube notifications. Another good way to find out when we're live. To turn on the YouTube notifications, what you need to do is you need to subscribe to the channel and click the notifications bell. and choose all notifications. So subscribe, click the bell, and choose all notifications. Also, shout out to our Twitch subscribers for all of your support. Oloso and Cece and Wall Street and Shaggy and I7 Andy and Donut Catnap and Sandy Doggo, Aquatic Wallaby. Who else? Douthis, Gonzalez, My Florida 22, Meme Shave Feelings, and Matthew Kohai 3, Drunk Can't Cook, Gina Pina, LV Beezy, anybody I'm missing, Death Adder 01, and all of our other subscribers over on Facebook, Daddy Dino as well, Bastion Girl, Artful Nothing, thank you, and our Facebook subscribers like Chuck Mosca, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Kay Larry Body, Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes, Jennifer Ellers, Diane Allworth, and Robert Rial II, all the rest of our Facebook subscribers, thank you so much. Also, thank you to our YouTube members like Joe Hart, Jimmy ZNJ, Roger Shoemaker, Jewish Pickle, CAC813, Storm Laughter, John Flick, Lewis R, Chaz Martin, Truth Will Set You Free, Pat W, Roger Shoemaker, Confidence in God, Carlos Discounts, Callie Raven, Dr. McRib, Sausage, Salty, Marcus, Jimmy ZNJ, Luke Degling, CAC813, and all of our other YouTube members. So I got to wrap this up now. Sorry to end a little bit early today just because I have something I need to deal with. But again, if there's big news on this tonight or anything else big tonight, I will come back on the air. I will be available to cover it. So this has been our live update on the situation and the speculation, the reporting, the discussion about will the U.S. soon launch strikes on Venezuela. We will have to see. That is it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.